Have you ever stood in front of a mirror, rehearsing a sentence in English over and over again, only to freeze completely when it was time to say it to a real person? You are not alone in this feeling. That moment of hesitation, that silence, where your mind goes blank, is something every language learner has felt. It is that heavy feeling in your chest, where you worry that if you make a mistake, everyone will laugh or judge you. But what if I told you that the secret to fluency is not about being perfect, but actually about being messy? What if the key to unlocking your confidence is simply speaking more, even if your grammar is not quite right? Welcome back to English in Fluency. I am your host, Alex, and today we are going to dive deep into a topic that will change the way you view your learning journey. We are going to talk about why frequency is much more important than accuracy, and how you can grow your confidence by simply showing up and speaking often. Let us imagine your English journey as if you are learning to play a sport, perhaps basketball. Imagine a player who spends all day reading books about how to throw the ball. He studies the physics of the arc, he memorizes the rules of the game, and he watches videos of professionals. But he never actually steps onto the court to throw the ball because he is afraid he might miss the hoop. Now, imagine another player. She goes to the court every single day. She throws the ball and misses 100 times. She throws it too hard, then too soft. She looks a bit silly sometimes. But every day, she touches the ball. After 6 months, who do you think will be the better player? The one who studied the theory of perfection? Or the one who built the muscle memory through frequency? The answer is obvious in sports. But we often forget this logic when we learn a language. We treat English like a test we have to pass, rather than a skill we have to practice. Today, I want to introduce you to two imaginary students to help illustrate this point clearly. Let us call them Julian and Mia. Julian is a very serious student. He loves his grammar books. When Julian learns a new tense, he writes it down in his notebook in 3 different colors. He understands the rules of the past perfect continuous tense better than most native speakers. However, Julian has a problem. He believes that he cannot speak until he is ready. He tells himself that once he memorizes 500 more vocabulary words, then he will start having conversations. He thinks that once he masters his pronunciation, then he will speak to his colleagues. Julian is prioritizing accuracy. He wants to be correct 100% of the time. Because of this, he rarely speaks. When he does speak, he pauses constantly to check his mental dictionary. He speaks once a week, maybe less. On the other hand, we have Mia. Mia does not enjoy grammar books very much. She finds them a little boring. Her vocabulary is simple, and she often mixes up he and she or forgets the past tense of irregular verbs. But Mia has a different rule. Her rule is that she must use English every single day, no matter what. She goes to the coffee shop and tries to order in English, even if she has to point at the menu. She joins online chat groups and types messages, even if they have spelling errors. She talks to herself in the shower. Mia is prioritizing frequency. She focuses on how often she uses the language, not how perfect she sounds. Let's fast forward 1 year. Julian, the perfectionist, is still studying. He knows a lot of words, but when someone asks him a simple question like, "How was your weekend?" he panics. He tries to construct the perfect sentence in his head. He thinks about the subject, the verb, and the object. By the time he is ready to speak, The other person has already looked away or changed the topic. Julian feels defeated. His confidence is very low because he has no evidence that he can communicate. He only has evidence that he can study. Now let us look at Mia. After a year of making mistakes, something amazing has happened. Because she spoke every day, her brain got used to finding words quickly. She does not have to translate from her native language anymore. She just speaks. Sure, she still makes mistakes. She might say, "I go to the store yesterday," instead of "I went." But the person listening understands her. They laugh, they share stories, and they connect. Mia has built confidence because she has a history of successful interactions. She knows that even if she makes a mistake, the world will not end. She has proven to herself that she can survive a conversation. This is the power of frequency over accuracy. So, why does confidence grow when you speak often? It is because confidence is not a personality trait that you are born with. Confidence is a result. It is a result of doing something repeatedly until it feels normal. When you speak English only once a month, it feels like a big, scary event. It feels like a performance on a stage. But when you speak English every day, even for just 5 minutes, it becomes a habit. It becomes as normal as brushing your teeth. You stop overthinking it because it is just something you do. This is why I want you to change your goal. Stop trying to speak perfectly. Start trying to speak frequently. You might be asking, "But Alex, if I speak with mistakes, won't I learn bad habits?" This is a very common fear. It is a valid concern, but here is the truth. You cannot refine a sentence you never speak. You cannot fix a mistake you never make. When you focus on frequency, you generate a lot of material. You produce thousands of words. As you listen to more English, like this podcast, and as you read more, your brain will naturally start to self-correct. You will hear yourself say something and think, "Wait, that didn't sound right." That moment of self-correction only happens if you are speaking enough to hear yourself. You need the quantity first so that you can work on the quality later. Let's talk about how you can actually apply this in your daily life. You do not need to move to an English-speaking country to increase your frequency. You do not even need a speaking partner. You can increase your frequency all by yourself. One of the best techniques is narrating your life. As you go about your day, simply say what you are doing out loud. If you are making breakfast, say, "I am taking the eggs out of the fridge." "I am finding a pan." "I am cooking the eggs." It sounds simple, perhaps a little childish, but you are building the connection between your brain and your mouth. You are training your physical muscles to speak English sounds. If you do this 5 times a day, you are speaking English 5 times more than the person who is waiting for a tutor. Another way to prioritize frequency is to lower your standards for what counts as a conversation. A conversation does not have to be a deep philosophical debate about the meaning of life. A conversation can be a 10-second interaction. If you see a comment on a YouTube video written in English, reply with a simple, "I agree." That counts. If you are listening to this podcast, pause it right now and summarize what I just said in one sentence out loud. Go ahead. I will wait. Did you do it? If you did, congratulations. You just practiced speaking. It does not matter if your summary was grammatically perfect. What matters is that you took a thought from your brain and turned it into sound. Let's go back to our friend Julian for a moment. Imagine if Julian decided to change his approach. Imagine if he decided that for the next 30 days, he would not open his grammar book. Instead, he would record himself speaking for 2 minutes every morning. On the first day, Julian feels awkward. He hates the sound of his voice. He stumbles and stops, but he finishes the 2 minutes. On day 5, it is still hard, but he notices he finds the word morning faster. On day 15, he starts to talk about his feelings, not just what he sees. On day 30, he looks back and realizes he has spoken for a full hour in total over the month. That is more speaking practice than he did in the previous year. His confidence grows not because he is perfect, but because he showed up. He proved to himself that he is a speaker. The fear of judgment is usually the biggest wall standing between you and frequency. We worry about what others think. But I want to tell you a secret about human nature. Most people are not judging your grammar. They are focusing on the message. When you speak to someone, they want to connect with you. They want to know what you think, how you feel, or what information you have. They are not grading you with a red pen. If you say, "She have a car," instead of "She has a car," they understand you perfectly. The communication is successful. When you accept that communication is the goal, not perfection, the pressure disappears. You become lighter. You become freer. And ironically, when you are relaxed, your English actually improves because your brain is not frozen by stress. I want you to think about the concept of good enough. In many areas of life, we accept things that are good enough. When you clean your house, it does not have to be surgically sterile. It just needs to be clean enough to live in. When you cook a quick dinner on a Tuesday, it does not have to be a restaurant-quality meal. It just needs to be tasty enough to eat. Why do we demand perfection from our English? Why isn't good enough acceptable? If you can ask for directions and find the train station, your English was good enough. If you can tell a joke and make your friend laugh, your English was good enough. By accepting good enough, you allow yourself to speak more often. And by speaking more often, your good enough level will naturally rise higher and higher over time. Let us try a little visualization exercise together. Close your eyes for a moment if you are in a safe place. I want you to imagine a version of yourself 6 months from now. This future version of you is comfortable. You are sitting at a table with friends who speak English. You are leaning forward, laughing, and telling a story. In this vision, notice that you are not pausing to search for words. You are not translating in your head. The words are just flowing. Now, look closely at this future version of yourself. Are you using perfect academic grammar? Probably not. Are you making small mistakes? Probably yes. But does it matter? No. Because you are connecting, you are smiling, you are fluent. This reality is possible for you, but the only road to get there is through frequency. You have to walk through the messy, imperfect days to get to the comfortable, fluent days. To understand this deeper, I want you to think back to the very first time you learned to do something difficult. Perhaps something as fundamental as walking. When a baby starts to walk, they do not stand up and sprint across the room perfectly on their first try. They stand up, they wobble, and they fall down. They do this hundreds of times. Now, imagine if the baby's parents scolded them every time they fell. Imagine if the parents said, "No, that was wrong. You leaned too far to the left. Sit down and study the physics of gravity before you try again." If that happened, no one would ever learn to walk. Instead, the parents clap. They cheer. They celebrate the attempt. The baby learns through the frequency of falling. Every fall sends data to the brain about balance. As adults learning English, we often treat ourselves like strict parents. We scold ourselves for stumbling. We need to start treating ourselves like the baby. We need to realize that every grammatical stumble is just a part of learning to walk in a new language. You cannot run until you have walked, and you cannot walk until you have fallen. Let us introduce a new character to our story to look at another barrier to frequency. Let us meet Elena. Elena is different from Julian and Mia. Elena actually knows a lot of English, and she can construct sentences quite well. However, Elena has a specific fear. She hates her accent. She compares herself to native speakers in movies and feels that her sound is wrong. Because she is self-conscious about her pronunciation, she avoids speaking. She stays silent in meetings because she thinks her R sounds are too hard, or her vowels are too short. Elena is letting her desire for perfect pronunciation kill her frequency. Here is the truth that Elena needs to hear. An accent is not a sign of incompetence. It is a sign of bravery. It means you can speak two languages. When you prioritize frequency, something magical happens to your pronunciation naturally. You do not need to sit and drill sounds for hours in isolation. When you speak English every day, your mouth muscles physically change. Speaking a language is a physical workout. Your tongue, your lips, and your jaw have to move in ways they are not used to. If Elena started speaking for 20 minutes every day, regardless of her accent, her muscles would slowly adapt. She would naturally start to mimic the sounds she hears. But by staying silent, her mouth muscles remain weak. Frequency is the gym for your mouth. You cannot get strong muscles by looking at the weights. You have to lift them. So, if you are worried about your accent, please speak anyway. Your accent is part of your identity, and it will smooth out over time only if you keep talking. Now, I want to give you a very practical technique to increase your frequency at home. I call this the English Island method. Many of my students tell me, "Alex, I live in a country where no one speaks English. I have no one to practice with." This is a common challenge, but you can solve it by creating an island of English in your house. Choose a specific room, like your kitchen, or a specific time, like from 7 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. During this time, or in this space, your native language is forbidden. You are only allowed to speak English. If you live with family, ask them to play the game with you. If you live alone, talk to yourself. Imagine you are on your English island right now. You are making tea. Instead of thinking in your native language, force your brain to switch. Say, "The water is boiling. I am pouring the water. It is very hot." If you do not know a word, do not switch back to your native language. Instead, try to describe it in English. If you forget the word for spoon, do not stop. Say, "I need the metal thing for stirring sugar." This is exactly what frequency training is about. It is about keeping the flow going. It is about solving problems in real time. Another powerful tool for frequency is something called shadowing. But I want to explain how to use it specifically for confidence. Shadowing is when you listen to a speaker and repeat exactly what they say, almost at the same time. It is like singing along to a song. You can do this with this very podcast. As I speak these sentences, try to repeat them immediately after me. Do not worry if you miss a word. Do not worry if you are a split second behind. Just keep moving. This exercise destroys the filter in your brain that says, "Wait, is that correct?" Because you do not have time to think. You are riding the wave of the speaker's voice. When you shadow frequently, perhaps while you are washing dishes or driving to work, you are borrowing my confidence. You are borrowing my rhythm and my intonation. Your brain starts to internalize these patterns. It is like learning a dance step by following the instructor. At first, you feel clumsy. You step on your own toes. But if you dance every day, your body learns the rhythm. Suddenly, you find yourself using phrases you never studied in a book, simply because you shadowed them 50 times. This is the frequency over accuracy principle in action. You are bypassing the analytical part of your brain and training the intuitive part. Let's talk about the concept of plateaus. A plateau is a flat area of ground, high up on a mountain. In language learning, a plateau is when you feel like you are not improving anymore. You learned a lot in the beginning, but now you feel stuck. You have been at the B1 level for a long time. This is usually the moment where students give up. They think, "I am just not talented enough." But usually, the problem is not talent. The problem is a lack of intensity. To break through a plateau, you need a surge of frequency. You need to shock your system with more English than usual. Think of it like boiling water. If you keep the water at 90 degrees, it will get very hot, but it will never boil. It will never turn into steam. To get it to boil, you need to turn up the heat to 100 degrees. Many learners are sitting at 90 degrees. They do a little bit of Duolingo, they watch one video, and they stop. To break through to fluency, you need to turn up the heat. For 1 week, try to double your speaking frequency. Narrate your entire day. Call a friend. Talk to yourself in the mirror. Push the temperature to 100 degrees. You will find that suddenly the barrier breaks and you start moving forward again. The frequency provides the momentum you need to climb the next part of the mountain. I also want to address the role of technology in your frequency journey. We are lucky to live in an age where we can speak to the world from our bedrooms, but many people use the internet passively. They scroll, they like, they watch. I want you to become an active user. Use the voice typing feature on your phone. Instead of typing your grocery list, dictate it in English. Open your Notes app, press the microphone button, and say, "I need to buy milk, bread, and apples." See if the phone understands you. This is a low-pressure way to test your pronunciation. If the phone writes milk, you win. If it writes silk, you laugh and try again. This takes 10 seconds, but it adds to your daily frequency count. Furthermore, engage with the comment sections of videos or posts you enjoy. But do not just write "nice video." Write a full sentence. Express an opinion. I really liked the part where you talked about confidence because I struggle with that too. Writing is a form of speaking in slow motion. It allows you to practice outputting your thoughts. If you do this 5 times a day on 5 different posts, you are constructing sentences. You are becoming a user of English, not just a consumer. Now, let us return to the emotional side of things. Why is it that we feel so much shame when we make a mistake? It is because we feel that our intelligence is being judged. When we cannot find a word, we feel like a child. We feel powerless. But I want you to reframe this feeling. That moment of struggle, That moment where you are searching for a word is actually the moment of learning. That is the feeling of your brain stretching. If lifting a weight feels easy, your muscles are not growing. If speaking English feels 100% comfortable, you are probably not learning anything new. You are just repeating what you already know. So, when you are in a conversation and you get stuck, do not panic. Do not apologize. Many students say, "I am sorry. My English is bad." Stop saying that. Instead, say, "One moment. Let me find the word." Or, "How do I explain this?" Be calm in your struggle. If you stay calm and keep speaking, the other person will stay calm too. If you panic, the other person feels awkward. Remember, you set the tone of the conversation. If you are confident in your imperfection, the listener will be comfortable. Confidence does not mean I speak perfectly. Confidence means I am comfortable even when I am imperfect. Let us imagine another scenario. Imagine you have a friend named Thomas. Thomas wants to run a marathon. He buys the best running shoes. He buys the best athletic clothes. But he only runs once every 2 weeks because he wants to make sure his form is perfect. He runs 500 meters, stops, checks his watch, fixes his shoe, and goes home. Will Thomas ever finish a marathon? No. Now imagine you. You are training for the marathon of Fluency. You put on your old shoes. You run in the rain. You run when you are tired. You run slowly. You look messy. You sweat. But you run every single day. Who is going to cross the finish line? You are. Because you understood that the miles matter more than the style. I want to encourage you to track your frequency. We often track our finances or our calories, so why not track our speaking minutes? Get a simple calendar. Every day that you speak English for more than 15 minutes, whether to a person, a recording, or yourself, put a big X on that day. Your goal is not to be perfect on those days. Your goal is simply to get the X. Try to get a streak going. Try to get 10 days in a row. When you see those 10 X's on your calendar, you will feel a sense of pride. You will see visual proof of your effort. And on the days when you feel like your English is terrible, you can look at that calendar and say, "Maybe I am struggling today, but I showed up 10 days in a row. I am making progress." This shift in focus from "how good was I" to "did I show up" is the secret to long-term success. It takes the pressure off your performance and puts the focus on your discipline. Discipline is controllable. You cannot control if you forget a word. You cannot control if you use the wrong tense. But you can control if you open your mouth and speak. Focus on what you can control. As we continue on this path, remember that your English personality might be different from your native language personality. This is normal. In your native language, you might be very funny, quick-witted, and loud. In English, you might be a bit quieter, more thoughtful, and simpler. Do not mourn the loss of your native personality. Embrace your new English personality. It is a younger version of you. It is growing. Give it time to develop. By speaking often, you allow this new personality to mature. You allow it to find its own jokes, its own style. But if you suppress it, because it is not as sophisticated as your native self, it will never grow up. I want to leave you with a small challenge before we move to the next topic. I want you to find one object in your room. It could be a lamp, a book, or a chair. I want you to speak about that object for 60 seconds without stopping. Describe its color. Describe what it is used for. Describe where you bought it. Describe how it makes you feel. If you run out of things to say, Repeat yourself or make something up. Lie if you have to. Just keep the sound coming out of your mouth for 60 seconds. This is a pure frequency drill. It teaches your brain to keep generating language even when there is nothing deep to say. Now that you have practiced keeping the flow going, let us talk about one of the biggest fears that stops people from speaking frequently in real life: the fear of not understanding. You might think, Alex, I want to speak, but what if someone answers me and I don't understand them? I will look stupid. This is a terrifying thought for a B1 learner. You imagine a situation where you ask a question, the person responds with fast, complicated slang, and you just stand there freezing. But here is the secret. Even native speakers do not understand everything all the time. The difference is that native speakers are not afraid to ask for clarification. They do not think they are stupid. They just think they missed the information. To keep your frequency up, you need to learn how to control the conversation. You need a survival kit of phrases. Instead of just saying, "What?" or looking confused, you can use phrases that make you sound confident even when you are lost. Learn to say, "Could you say that a little bit slower, please?" Or, "I am not familiar with that word. What does it mean?" When you use these phrases, you are not failing. You are managing the interaction. You are showing the other person that you want to understand them. Most people are very kind. If you ask them to slow down, they will happily do it. They want the conversation to work just as much as you do. So, do not let the fear of the unknown stop you from starting the conversation. You have the tools to handle it. Now, let us talk about a powerful method to increase your speaking frequency: storytelling. Human beings are designed for stories. We love them. But often, students think a story has to be a long, dramatic novel. This is not true. A story can be 3 sentences long. I want you to practice the 3-sentence story method. This is great for practicing your past tense verbs. It goes like this. Sentence 1 sets the scene. Sentence 2 is the action. Sentence 3 is the result. For example, yesterday I went to the supermarket. I bought some spicy peppers by mistake. My dinner was too hot to eat. That is a complete story. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Why is this useful? Because it is short, simple, and easy to repeat. You can tell 3-sentence stories about anything. Tell a story about your cat. Tell a story about your commute to work. Tell a story about what you ate for lunch. When you practice these mini stories, you are training your brain to link ideas together. You are moving from single sentences to flowing paragraphs. This is the bridge to fluency. If you try to tell a 10-minute story, you will get lost and frustrated. But if you tell 10 3-sentence stories, you will feel successful 10 times. Remember, we want to build a history of success. We want to prove to your brain that you can do this. We have talked a lot about frequency, but we must also address the concept of the feedback loop. We said that accuracy is less important than frequency, but of course, we do want to improve our accuracy eventually. The trick is when to do it. You should never try to correct your grammar while you are speaking. If you try to be the speaker and the teacher at the same time, your brain will crash. You will stutter and stop. Instead, you must separate these 2 roles. Be the speaker in the morning and the teacher in the evening. Here is how you do it. Use the voice recorder on your phone. Pick a topic. Set a timer for 2 minutes and just speak. Do not stop to fix mistakes. Just flow. Imagine you are talking to a friend. Save the recording. Then, go about your day. Forget about it. Later that night, or even the next day, put on your headphones and listen to the recording. Now, you are the teacher. Listen to yourself as if you were listening to a stranger. You will be surprised. You will hear things you didn't notice when you were speaking. You might say, "Oh, I said he go instead of he went. This is good." When you spot your own mistake on a recording, you are much less likely to make it again. You are analyzing the data without the pressure of the moment. This is a safe way to improve accuracy without sacrificing your speaking flow. I want to address a feeling that often comes up after a few weeks of practicing often. It is the feeling of identity shift. For a long time, you have identified yourself as a student. A student is someone who learns, who absorbs, who listens. But when you start speaking every day, when you start using English to survive and connect, you stop being just a student. You become an English speaker. This is a different identity. An English speaker is someone who uses the tool. You might be an imperfect speaker, but you are a speaker. This shift can feel strange. You might feel like an imposter. You might think, "Who am I to speak this language?" But you must embrace this new identity. Stand tall. When someone asks, "Do you speak English?" do not say, "A little bit," while looking at the floor. Look them in the eye and say, "Yes, I do." By claiming this identity, you give yourself permission to make mistakes. You give yourself permission to take up space. You are not asking for a favor by speaking English. You are participating in the world. Let us look at the long-term view. Imagine English is a garden. If you water a garden once a month with a giant bucket of water, the plants will die. The ground will be flooded for an hour, and then dry for 29 days. But if you water the garden for just 5 minutes every morning, the plants will grow tall and strong. Your fluency is a plant. It does not need a flood of studying on Sunday. It needs the daily rain of speaking. It needs frequency. The English in fluency method is simply the decision to be the rain, not the flood. I know that life is busy. I know you have work, family, and responsibilities. You might feel that you do not have time for this. But remember the English island we talked about. Remember the narration while making breakfast. These things do not take extra time. They just layer English on top of the time you are already spending. You are already driving to work. Why not shadow a podcast while you do it? You are already taking a shower. Why not tell a 3-sentence story while you wash your hair? The opportunity for frequency is hiding in the empty spaces of your day. You just have to look for it. Now, I want to take you even deeper. We have covered the foundations of frequency, the English island method, and the power of storytelling. But to truly master this language and reach that 10,000-hour level of fluency, we need to talk about the psychology of habit and the science of how your brain actually learns. Have you ever walked through a dense forest? Imagine a forest with thick grass and bushes. The first time you try to walk through it, it is difficult. You have to push branches out of the way, step over rocks, and move slowly. This is your brain when you speak English for the first time. The pathway does not exist yet. But if you walk that same path every single day for a month, what happens? The grass gets flattened. The bushes are pushed back. A dirt path begins to form. Eventually, you can walk that path with your eyes closed. This is exactly what neuroplasticity is. It is a big scientific word, but it simply means that your brain changes shape based on what you do frequently. When you prioritize accuracy and pause to think about grammar, you are not walking the path. You are standing still in the forest, looking at a map. When you prioritize frequency, even if you stumble, you are trampling the grass. You are physically building the highway in your mind. Let us talk about the translate first trap. This is the biggest enemy of frequency. Most students hear a sentence in English, translate it into their native language. Think of a response in their native language. Translate that response back into English, and then speak. This process takes too long. It is exhausting. By the time you have done all that mental math, the conversation is over. To increase frequency, you must stop translating. You must learn to think in English. I know, this sounds impossible, but you can start with a simple exercise I call the labeling game. Look around you right now. Do not translate the word table to your native language. Just look at the object and think table. Look at the window and think window. Do this until there is no middleman in your brain. When you remove the translation step, your frequency doubles because your speed doubles. I want to introduce you to another concept that successful polyglots use. It is called the alter ego. Do you know that the famous singer Beyoncé used to be very shy? Before she went on stage, she would pretend to be a character named Sasha Fierce. Sasha was brave, loud, and confident. You can do the same with English. Create an English persona. Maybe your English persona is named Max or Victoria. When you switch to English, you are not you anymore. You are Max. Max is not afraid of making mistakes. Max is loud. Max loves to talk to strangers. By pretending to be someone else, you detach your ego from the fear of failure. It sounds like a child's game, but it is a powerful psychological trick to boost your speaking frequency. Let's discuss the plateau of latent potential. This is a fancy way of describing the frustration you feel when you practice often, but don't see results immediately. Imagine an ice cube sitting in a cold room. The room is 25 degrees. You heat it up to 26 degrees. The ice is still solid. You heat it to 27, 28, 29, 30, 31 degrees. Still solid. You feel like you are wasting your time. You think, I am increasing the heat, but nothing is changing. But then, you hit 32 degrees, and the ice begins to melt. All the work you did before was not wasted. It was stored. It was building up the energy for the change. Language learning is exactly like this. You might speak every day for 2 months and feel like you are still making the same mistakes. But you are building up the heat. Suddenly, one day, you will wake up and realize you just had a whole conversation without thinking. You will melt the ice. You must trust the process of frequency during the times when you cannot see the results. Now, let's get practical about small talk. Many students hate small talk because they think it is boring. But small talk is the gymnasium of frequency. It is where you do your warm-ups. The problem is that most students get stuck in the "how are you" loop. How are you? I am fine, thank you. End of conversation. This kills frequency. I want to teach you the Ford method to extend conversations and get more speaking time. Ford stands for family, occupation, recreation, dreams. These are the 4 safe topics you can always talk about. If the conversation dies, switch to one of these letters. Ask about their siblings, family. Ask what they are working on. Occupation. Ask what they do for fun. Recreation. Ask where they want to travel next. Dreams. By having this mental menu ready, you never run out of things to say, and you keep the frequency flowing. Let us move on to the art of active listening. You might be thinking, Alex, I thought we were talking about speaking. We are, but good speaking comes from good listening. However, most people listen passively. They let the words wash over them like water. I want you to listen like a thief. When you watch a movie or listen to this podcast, I want you to steal phrases. If you hear me say, let's dive deep into this, and you like that phrase, write it down. Put it in your pocket. The next time you speak, force yourself to use that stolen phrase. This bridges the gap between passive knowledge and active frequency. There is a specific exercise for this called the pause and predict game. When you are watching a YouTube video with subtitles, press pause in the middle of a sentence. Try to guess what the next word will be. Say it out loud. Then, press play. If you were right, your brain gets a reward. If you were wrong, your brain learns a new pattern. This keeps your brain in speaking mode even when you are technically listening. You are constantly generating language, constantly guessing, constantly frequenting the neural pathways of sentence structure. Now, I want to address the intermediate dip. This is a dangerous time. When you are a beginner, A1, everything is new. You learn cat, dog, hello, and you feel like a genius. But at B1, progress slows down. You know enough to survive, so your brain gets lazy. It stops trying to learn new words because it thinks, good enough. To fight this, you need to increase the variety of your frequency. If you only talk about your daily routine, you will only be fluent in your daily routine. You need to force yourself into new territories. Here is a challenge: the topic hat. Write down 30 different topics on small pieces of paper. Topics like climate change, my favorite movie, why I love coffee, the future of technology, my childhood hero. Put them in a hat. Every morning, pull out one paper. You must speak for 3 minutes on that topic. You cannot change the topic. If you pull out the history of shoes and you know nothing about shoes, you must make it up. You must struggle through it. This forces your brain to search for words it doesn't normally use. It pushes your frequency into new corners of your vocabulary warehouse. Let's talk about micro-habits. Many people say they don't have time to speak for an hour a day. That is fine. You don't need an hour block. You need 12 5-minute blocks. We call this stacking. Stack your English practice on top of habits you already have. Do you drink coffee in the morning? That is your English coffee time. You are not allowed to take a sip until you say one sentence about the weather. Do you wait for the bus? That is your English bus time. Describe the people waiting with you, quietly, to yourself. That man is wearing a blue coat. He looks tired. By attaching English to things you already do, you guarantee frequency. You don't need willpower, you just need the habit trigger. We also need to talk about the physical sensation of speaking. Sometimes English feels weird in your mouth. The R sound, the TH sound, they feel unnatural. This physical discomfort can stop you from speaking. You need to do mouth yoga. Yes, really. Before you start your day, stretch your mouth. Stick your tongue out. Blow air through your lips. Make silly noises. Ba da ga da pa. Loosen up the machinery. Athletes stretch their legs before a run. You must stretch your mouth before a speaking session. When your muscles are warm, the words flow easier, and you are less likely to stumble, which keeps your confidence high. Let's go back to our story of Julian and Mia. Let's imagine them 5 years later. Julian finally feels ready. He books a trip to London. He arrives at the airport. He goes to the customs officer. The officer asks, "What is the purpose of your visit?" Julian freezes. He knows the answer, but his mouth refuses to move. He stutters. He sweats. He has the knowledge, but he has no flow. Mia also goes to London. She has been chatting with taxi drivers, talking to herself, and singing bad karaoke for 5 years. She walks up to the officer. The officer asks, "What is the purpose of your visit?" Mia smiles and says, "I'm here to see the Queen, but she doesn't know it yet." The officer laughs. They have a chat. Mia walks through. She won not because her grammar was perfect, but because she was relaxed. She had done this thousands of times in her head and in her room. This brings us to the concept of social engineering. You can actually design your life to force you to speak English. Change the settings on your phone to English. Now, if you want to change your screen brightness, you have to navigate English menus. If you have a voice assistant like Siri or Alexa, change them to English. Ask them questions every day. "Hey Siri, what is the weather like?" "Hey Alexa, tell me a joke." These robots are the perfect practice partners. They don't judge you. They just wait. If they don't understand you, you have to try again. This is free, low-stress frequency practice that is available 24/7. Now, I want to discuss emotional resilience. There will be days when you feel stupid. There will be days when you can't remember the word for apple. On these days, you will want to quit. You will tell yourself, "I am too old to learn," or "I am not smart enough." When these thoughts come, you must recognize them as lies. They are just your brain trying to save energy. Your brain loves comfort. Learning is uncomfortable. So your brain invents excuses to make you stop. When you hear the voice saying, "I can't," I want you to add one word to the end of the sentence, "Yet." I can't speak fluently. Yet. I don't understand this movie. Yet. That one word keeps the door open. It reminds you that fluency is just a matter of time and frequency. I want to give you a concrete schedule to follow. You don't have to guess what to do. I have designed a 30-day frequency blueprint to move you from silent student to active speaker. Week 1 is the narration week. Your goal this week is simply to connect your eyes to your mouth. As we discussed, narrate your life. I am opening the door. I am walking to the car. Do this for 10 minutes a day. Do not worry about mistakes. Just describe the physical world. Week 2 is shadowing week. Choose a podcast host or a YouTuber you like. Every day, spend 15 minutes shadowing them. Mimic their emotion. If they are angry, be angry. If they are sad, be sad. You are not just learning words. You are learning the music of the language. Week 3 is opinion week. This is where it gets interesting. Every day, pick a news story or a topic. Stand in front of a mirror and give your opinion on it for 2 minutes. I think pizza is the best food because... I think traffic in this city is terrible because... You must use the word because. This forces you to make complex sentences. Week 4 is conversation week. This is the graduation. You must have real interactions. If you cannot find a partner, record a video of yourself and post it to a private group, or just keep it for yourself. But you must pretend you are talking to a real human. Ask questions to the camera. What do you think? Have you ever felt this way? Leave space for the imaginary answer. If you follow this blueprint, by the end of day 30, you will have spoken more English than you did in the last 3 years combined. You will feel different. You will walk taller. The fear will still be there, but it will be smaller. It will be a whisper, not a scream. Let's talk about the dip. Seth Godin wrote a book called The Dip. It explains that in any new skill, there is a moment where it stops being fun and starts being hard. This is where most people quit. In English, the dip usually happens at the B1/B2 transition. The excitement of the beginning is gone, but the mastery of the end is not here yet. You are in the messy middle. The only way to cross the dip is to keep moving. Frequency is your boat across the ocean of the dip. If you stop rowing, you will drown in boredom. If you keep rowing, even slowly, you will eventually see the other side. I want to share a secret about native speakers. We make mistakes too. We say, me and him went, instead of he and I went. We mumble. We cut off words. We use the wrong words. But we do it with confidence, so nobody notices. You are holding yourself to a standard that even native speakers don't follow. Relax your standards. Your goal is connection, not perfection. If you smile, make eye contact, and use your hands, you can communicate 80% of your message even when your grammar is broken. Communication is a human act, not a grammatical one. Now, consider the concept of immersion. People say, I can't learn because I don't live in America. That is nonsense. Immersion is not a location, it is a choice. You can live in New York and live in a bubble of your native language. You can live in a small village in Brazil or Japan and be immersed in English. How? By changing your input. If you watch Netflix, watch it in English. If you read the news, read CNN or BBC. If you listen to music, listen to English pop or rock. If you cook, read recipes in English. You can build a virtual New York in your bedroom. The more you surround yourself with the sounds of English, the more natural it will feel to speak it. Your brain will start to echo what it hears. Let's talk about mistake amnesia. This is a superpower you need to develop. When you make a mistake in a conversation, you probably obsess over it for hours. Oh no, I said sheet instead of sheet. You replay it in your head. Stop it. Develop amnesia. Forget the mistake instantly. Learn the lesson, but forget the emotion. The person you were talking to has already forgotten. They are thinking about their own lunch, their own problems. They are not thinking about your verb tense. Be kind to yourself. You are doing something incredibly hard. You are decoding a complex system of noises to share your soul with another human being. That is a miracle. It is okay if the miracle is a little messy sometimes. I want to give you a tool for when you get stuck. It is called circumlocution. This is a fancy word for talking around the word. Let's say you forget the word for umbrella. Don't stop. Don't freeze. Describe it. The thing you hold over your head when it rains. The rain protector. The small roof on a stick. This is actually better than knowing the word umbrella because it proves you have fluency. Fluency is the ability to keep going when you don't have the map. It is the ability to improvise. Practice this game. Pick an object and try to describe it without saying its name. It is a fun game to play with friends or by yourself. Let us revisit the idea of motivation versus discipline. Motivation is a feeling. It comes and goes like the weather. Some days you feel sunny and want to learn. Some days you feel rainy and want to sleep. You cannot rely on motivation. You must rely on discipline. Discipline is doing it when you don't want to. Discipline is speaking for 5 minutes, even when you are tired. Discipline is watching the English video, even when you want to watch the one in your native language. Frequency is a discipline. It is a muscle you build. And the amazing thing is, discipline creates motivation. When you force yourself to do it, and you finish, you feel proud. That pride becomes the fuel for tomorrow. We are nearing the end of our expanded journey, but I have a few more crucial points. Let's talk about success visualization. Athletes use this all the time. Before a race, they close their eyes and see themselves crossing the finish line. I want you to do this. Close your eyes. See yourself in a business meeting. You are wearing a nice suit. You are standing up. You are giving a presentation in English. People are nodding. They are interested. You feel calm. You feel powerful. Visualize this scene every night before you sleep. Your brain cannot tell the difference between a vivid imagination and reality. By visualizing success, you are priming your brain to achieve it. You are reducing the fear because you have been there in your mind already. Finally, I want to talk about the legacy of language. Why are you doing this? Why are you putting yourself through this stress? It is not just for a better job. It is not just for travel. It is because you want to grow. You want to expand who you are. Learning a language is the ultimate act of self-improvement. It opens up a new part of your soul. It allows you to read books you couldn't read before. It allows you to understand songs that were just noise before. It allows you to make friends with people who grew up on the other side of the planet. This is a beautiful, noble goal. Do not let the small bumps in the road stop you from reaching this beautiful destination. You have now listened to thousands of words on this topic. You have the theory. You have the examples. You have the exercises. The only thing missing is the action. The bridge between who you are now and who you want to be is built with the bricks of daily practice. You have to lay one brick today, and another one tomorrow, and another one the day after. Do not wait for the perfect time. The perfect time is now. Do not wait for the perfect teacher. The best teacher is your own voice. Do not wait for the perfect confidence. Confidence is waiting for you at the finish line. I want you to make a promise to me, and more importantly, to yourself. Promise that you will be messy. Promise that you will be loud. Promise that you will be frequent. Write it down on a piece of paper. I promise to speak imperfectly every day. Stick it on your bathroom mirror. Read it every morning while you brush your teeth. Let it be your mantra. Thank you for staying with me for this long, extended session. The fact that you are still reading, still listening, proves that you have the hunger. You have the fire. Now, go and use that fire to burn down the barriers of fear. Go and fill the world with your voice. Your English does not need to be perfect to be powerful. It just needs to be heard. This is Alex, signing off from English in Fluency. I am cheering for you. I am believing in you. Now, turn off this device, open your mouth, and speak. Just speak. Goodbye, and good luck.